We start every year with a notion of where we want to go with the season. Now that we're in season 6, we wanted to sort of find things about our characters that nobody knew.
Do you know something?
Do I know something?
She just repeated the question. You always say that's a sign.
Somebody was telling a story that after working together for 6 years, the other one had never heard. So we were like, wait a minute, Ed, you had never told us that before. And he's like, I've got some secrets. This team of people who've been working together as long as we've been working together don't know everything about one another.
Excuse me, Missy, but when did you plan on telling me?
Oh, I wasn't going to tell you.
As we got into it, we realized that it merged very nicely with our subject matter. We have serial killers every week who have their own deep, dark secret that they're trying to get away from the team. And so it just merged really nicely with the idea that every member of our team has something that they're trying to hide.
Somebody have a long night?
Somebody want to mind their own business?
I think it's harder to keep secrets from profilers. So typically when you do keep secrets, they're pretty serious. Some of them had to do with health issues, some of them had to do with history in their family, some of them had to do with interest. So it's great to be able to bring that real depth of character to the characters in the show.
The ideas started early for JJ, for example, that her secret had to be that she was approached by the State Department to go work, and she had never told anyone.
I'm not interested.
Clearly, you turned down the job twice without consulting your unit chief.
I think the most important thing we wanted to do with the departure of JJ is not make it a pat, well, she's a mother, so she's leaving to be a mom.
From what I understand, there's less travel with this position. You could stay home with Henry.
Excuse me?
I thought, that's expected. What's not expected? What's not expected is that this woman is more important than anyone's giving her credit for. And we'll prove that by having her sort of get poached by another department.
It's understandable why the executive branch is requesting the transfer. However, if Agent Giroux respectfully declines their request, there's no way you can make her go.
We talked about, in a post-9/11 world, how much more contact the BAU has had with the Department of Defense in anti-terrorism matters and in strategy matters.
We have access to the local emergency alert system. Secretary personally set it up herself. It's in the city command center.
And so it was very believable that somebody in the unit would come to the recognition of the DOD and they'd want to steal her away.
When do I leave?
She doesn't want to go, but this is a big opportunity and a good chance for her character to go and learn and find new skills and maybe come back to us one day.
You're going to be much better off than any of us, you know that?
It was to give it to AJ too, that her character has been a really important part of our world for 6 seasons, and it's not easy for any of us to let her go.
Sometimes people forget, if you're just tuning into the show, that Rossi was one of the great profilers that helped start the unit, and he left and then he came back. And there are cases that Rossi was not able to solve, and those cases have haunted him to the degree that he has a file of them in his closet.
I just got a call. The bodies of 2 young women were found in the Eldon Street area in Bristol, Virginia. They were both tortured and electrocuted.
I'll be there in 20 minutes.
And so the idea that a serial killer, such as the Butcher, was losing his faculties to Alzheimer's, and the fact that Rossi isn't forgetting, is actually haunted by them, these things would converge, we thought would make a really, really great story.
Mr. Mullins, Mr. Charming.
If I had a good caretaker, he'd be here on time. I don't pay you to be late.
I'm coming.
That's what you said an hour ago. I should have got rid of you when I had a chance.
Mr. Wicked Vicious. Ay, 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 ay. That's a lot of fun.
No one said you were stupid. You got to keep practicing.
And no better way to practice. He's tending to forget, and they like to remember. They like to reminisce. They're just sentimental folk, these vicious killers. I want to go out. Take me out. So he comes back and he makes a few last, pun intended, stabs at it. So I'm laughing a lot on the set because once we shoot, It ain't funny.
And action.
I'll show you how to kill him.
It's always nice to work with the old pros. Dan's been around and does a lot of theater. So what I liked about the storyline, too, is it emulated in a way even our relationship, in the sense that here's two guys that kind of know each other, that they have a past, a little bit of a past, as did these two characters, that this is a guy been kind of on the prowl for a long time, and now all of a sudden he rears his head again.
Those your trophies?
What do you know about trophies?
I like trophies. Proves you won something.
Well, you're not going to win today.
It was just amazing to have him. And then to see him and Rossi go at it. You know, they were both fans of each other as actors. So to see them in their interrogation scenes, to see them in the breakdown scene, to see them even in the end where he kind of tells Rossi, I knew about you my whole career.
Hey, Rossi. I do remember you. In the end, you're the reason I stopped.
And he kind of digs at him that you were so close to getting me. It was a great moment between these two.
Ashley Seaver is a character that actually first took root last season. We started thinking about, quote-unquote, freshening up the show a little bit, adding a little bit of a different dimension to the show. And we wanted to do a character that was a little bit younger, who could sort of learn from the rest of the team, and we could sort of watch them grow up a little bit. At around the same time we were talking about a new character for the show, I sort of became more interested in kids of serial killers and kind of what happens to them.
My father is Charles Beauchamp.
As in the Redmond Ripper, Charles Beauchamp?
That's him.
Because what serial killers are good at is hiding the fact that they're serial killers. It's why you hear so many, interviews with people who say, I can't believe it was Bob. I became interested in this notion of what does it do to a child to find out that, the father whose lap you sat on was out brutalizing people at the same time.
She comes onto the scene because the team is looking for a very specific kind of unsub. And I had insight because of my childhood experience into what it would be like to live in a gated community that looks like Pleasantville from the outside with that type of unsub.
She will never forget it, Mr. Jacobs. If you let her see this, she will never forgive you.
I thought it was a really interesting way to introduce a character, and the team is already so perfectly meshed. It's already such a good, well-working machine. If they were going to introduce a new character, she had to have some sort of perspective.
Action.
I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry.
She knows what it's like to be a victim as well, and I think that kind of sets her apart.
Reed's been battling headaches this year, and that secret eventually was told to Prentice.
I've been having these really intense headaches lately.
And then again to Morgan once Prentice was gone.
I have terrible headaches. I can't sleep at night. I can't focus on our cases. I only read 5 books last week.
So it's not the idea that they're holding it all in, but they will share these things that are bothering them.
Are you having one of your headaches right now?
Yeah, I am.
In Corazon, we kind of dealt with his headaches, and that was the first time that we've had that mentioned, and it's something that he's kind of struggling with.
We thought this will be interesting to play because if he was to be experiencing a schizophrenic break, he can't let anybody in the FBI know. That would actually be possibly the end of his character.
You know, that profile kind of makes it sound like schizophrenia leads to serial killing.
That's not what we said at all, Reed.
He saw himself in this kid. And so in that episode, he has a great moment with Morgan where he confesses his fear that this could be him, and Morgan, as a friend, has to say to him, it's not.
Come on, kid, you gotta cut yourself some slack. If your mind was splitting, do you really think you'd be able to figure out that this team is missing a variable?
The strength that Morgan helps give him helps him to not only solve the case, but in the end, sleep.
Does it ever go away?
Luckily, it does.
Hey, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'll keep you posted.
Aye, aye, Captain.
We were struggling to find a good secret for Shamar Moore's character, for Morgan. And what ended up happening was we came up with the idea that one of his family members, one of his cousins, had been a victim.
Is my baby girl on that beach?
We've talked about this. There's no reason to think she'd be down here.
But then that really actually didn't turn out to be the secret. In the end, the secret was a burden that he undertook.
My aunt has spent years obsessing over Cindy's last few hours. She doesn't go out. She doesn't sleep. She forgets to take her medication. It's killing her, Rossi.
And so he actually leaves the show with a secret.
I did kill her!
How'd you know? He knows his victims' names. He didn't know Cindy's.
The idea of Morgan's cousin having been killed by a serial killer and the agony that his aunt is going through, it was true to that character of who Morgan was. We're not just the sum of 1 or 2 episodes that fill in our backstory. There's a whole history there. And so, yes, in Profiled in season 2, we reveal that Morgan was a victim of abuse, and that was instrumental in him being a profiler, but that's not the beginning and end of his decision to be a profiler. And I think that Cindy is just one of 100 steps that he's taken that brought him to this team.
The writers have really done a nice job with all the characters to just give us some layers to who we are and who we were before the audience met us, to who we are as you see us today, and what we're dealing with, why we choose to do this job, what we live with, what's at stake, those kinds of things. So now they introduced an aunt character, and there was nice little moments that the writers created, so you got a sense of the history, the sense of the family unity. For me, it's just nice to see the fabric of Derek that you don't always get to see, you don't always get to hear about, but just in nice little moments, there's these nuances that you kind of see a bigger world of who Derek is.
The biggest secret, I think, of all was born out of the twist with Prentiss. Hotch and JJ are holding this major secret that Prentiss is okay. So it's a really brutal struggle for them, especially in episode 20, when Hotch leads the grief assessments for the team. They're in there believing that Prentiss is dead. Not that she's gone, not that she's living in Europe as someone else, but that she's actually physically dead. And the burden in those scenes is really on Hotch, that he could take their pain away right now.
Acceptance. Well, obviously, I haven't accepted it, otherwise I wouldn't be in here. So where does that leave me?
Angry.
Angry.
It's a really interesting struggle, and it just shows what those secrets can do to people.
It's been a hard year. We'll get through it.
Yeah. We will.
We've done 5 seasons of a work-related cliffhanger.
The Bureau is facing a lot of changes, and this unit is no exception. Over the next few weeks, each of you is going to be asked if you'd like to stay with the unit.
This year, the cliffhanger is more of a reflection, I think, of what we went through this season. So it felt like the season-ending cliffhanger this year should be sort of family-related.
There was no bigger jeopardy for our team this season than what they've already been through and what we're looking ahead to. The changes with the dynamic within a team. So in writing the finale, the scene in the bullpen was sort of a downer of an ending. And then I just kept writing. And he walks down the catwalk, and he walks into his office, and JJ's sitting there.
I'm coming back.
I'm back.
We've got our dear girl, AJ Cook, back. That's the scene I'm going to shoot now, and it kind of intimates that perhaps she got a little tired working for the President of the United States and maybe needs to come back to the BAU. You've given some thought to what we discussed.
It's been such a roller coaster ride. Everything happened the way it was supposed to for some reason, and here I am, and I'm happy to be here, and I love everyone here, so it's like it's coming home again.
It comes back to the secrets. It comes back to the, wait a minute, what's going on in the show? It was a more hopeful ending to have JJ in it. I'm happy, and I think the fans will be.